Chapter 2 Mastering the Cycle to spread their skills with long swords mist and dream of the vastness of Mount Timi. The story goes that after Li Zhu and Yin Kuang bid farewell to the village and headed toward the mountains, except for Yin Kuang, who wanted to arrive quickly at the mountain to begin learning swordsmanship, the three were unencumbered and carefree. Along the way they enjoyed the mountain scenery, walking leisurely. By the time the sun was setting in the west, they finally arrived at the foot of Mount Emi. There they saw in standing in rows of many pilgrims training the large and minus the scene was quite lively. The three found an inn, planning to buy necessary supplies the next morning before ascending the mountain to prepare for a long stay. The night passed without incident, and next day, after the three discussed and decided, Enim was assigned to purchase everyday household items such as oil, salt, vinegar, rice, flour, wine, and meat. Zhu Chen was responsible for buying books, writing materials, pots, stoves, water buckets, and other kitchen utensils. Finally, he also bought several jing of bacon crumb. When Yin Kuang asked what this was for, Zhu Chen said, "You'll know shortly Midas it has many uses. No mere rubbiters wanted it. With all the newly purchased items, there was quite a lot. Soon they hired quarters to carry everything up the mountain together. The pilgrims in the incense procession found them rather strange, but the three paid no attention and headed straight up the mountain. At first, though they passed through some narrow paths, the walking wasn't too difficult. But gradually the mountain paths became more treacherous and the scenery more marvelous. White clouds flew back and forth just above their heads, and sometimes one couldn't see people across the way. Yin Kuang kept exclaiming how interesting it was. Zhu Chen said when we started climbing we saw no sign of rain. That there were so many clouds, it must be raining down below. We're walking through cloud and mist minus, we must be careful, or else one false step and we'll be smashed to pieces. After walking another half li, they reached the place of self-sacrifice. Looking back down the mountain, we saw only boundless obscurity minus no houses could be seen at all. Hidden temples on the mountainside were hidden in the sloping mist. Ivory sun overhead shone on the Carlton mist, reflecting extraordinary colors and brilliant light minus truly a beautiful sight. Just as Yin Har was watching entranced, the porter said on his death, "We now reached the coast of self-sacrifice. Beyond there is the devil's trap minus there's no passable road. We cannot proceed further. With today's clouds, there's certainly heavy rain halfway up the mountain. We tapped the sun today, and tomorrow will cost us another day's business. Please be accommodating all our guests." Zhu Chen said, "We originally only hired you to come this far. Wait here a moment while I line to the mountain top and use rope to haul up the luggage. Then I'll give you extra rain money, how's that?" Having said this, he leapt up onto a towering agent's outpost beside him, then climbed through a tree top onto the mountain peak. He took out the hand rope that brought his hold up the luggage and gripped one by one. Then he lowered the rope again, then hauled Yin Kuang up. When she was being pulled up halfway, Yin Kuang looked down with her eyes and saw that this place was truly precipitous minus a solitary peak carved straight down, overlooking a deep pool 10,000 yen below. Though she was bold by nature, even she felt dizzy and her heart shook. After Yin Kuang went up, Lin Eng did the quarters of tell its server as Wan Wen climbed up in the same manner. Only then did the three discuss smoothing the luggage. Zhu Chen said, "I've been to this place many times and am very familiar with it. Let me first lead you silver and gold to be paid. Then I'll retrieve the items." Since Li Ming was unfamiliar with the route, he wasn't polite about it. Each person first took some convenient items, passed several more precipices, and after about 3 li they arrived at the mountain gate entrance. On the gate wall were for large characters, printing stones and drawing in clouds. A three entered the cave to look around. They saw that within the cave were altogether for stone chambers minus 2 considered bedrooms, and one of good lighting that served as a place for everyone to read and cultivate tranquilly. Then Zhu Chen fetched all the necessary items minus altogether making 3 trips before everything was brought in. After setting everything up, the sun was already setting behind the mountain. Everyone hastily ate some dried provisions, sealed the cave entrance with stones, and went straight to sleep. The next morning after rising, Li Ming established a curriculum for the Yinghuan and began teaching her tea cultivation to spirit concentration, as well as various internal skills. Yinghuan was naturally exceptionally intelligent minus and no time at all. She had mastered all kinds of flexibility exercises, but because she was born with an impatient nature, every day she bothered Lian Ju to teach her swordsmanship. Zhu Chen, seeing her rapid progress, also thought she could be instructed, but Lin Im alone stubbornly refused, saying only that the time had not yet come. One day Zhu Chen pleaded on Yinghuan's behalf. Li Din said, "Worthy brother, only knows one thing, but not the other. Do you think that our brother Chitumao in learning? You must understand Midas, the higher someone's natural talent, the deeper their foundation must be laid. Palmer's natural gifts are such that I'm absolutely inadequate to be her teacher. So now I'm wholeheartedly focusing on solidifying her foundation. Once her opportunity arises and she meets a brilliant teacher, she can become a great talent. If we proceed fearlessly now, even if I transmit all my life's learning to her, she still can stand alone for a time. Moreover, her temperament is fierce and she's unwilling to easily submit to others. There are many heroes in the world stronger than us minus if she encounters an opponent. Won't she suffer a loss? My intention is that if she does learn, then so be it. That once she learns, it must be profound. Though she may not achieve the supernatural transformation of the ancients or immortals, she should at least reach the level of being invincible in the mortal world. Initially, I didn't teach her also because of her clever but impatient nature and my own limited abilities. Hearing these words, Xu Chen felt it inappropriate to urge further. But Yinghuan's ambitions was at fire minus. How could she endure? The only flaw in this otherwise beautiful mountain cave was that the water source was quite far away. Fortunately, about a league from the cave on the mountainside cliff, there was a waterfall with a small stream below minus the water was so clear you could see the bottom, and the spring water was sweet and clean. Every other day, Lian Zhu would take turns touching water, because Lian Zhu feared becoming lazy instead. Every morning they would practice various sword techniques and boxing arts in the open space before the cave. Since the two wouldn't teach her, Yinghuan attentively watched from the side, and when the two were around, she secretly practiced. Not that he had many monkeys. One day Yinghuan saw monkeys running on the rotten cliff saddle as a friend. This inevitably sparked in her the idea of practicing likeness skills. Every morning she would tie ropes between trees at both ends and practice working on them. She also cursed Zhu and Li to teach her various likeness techniques. She already had natural divine strength, and with guidance from these two masters she not only became light as a swallow but also developed extraordinary power. Word from monk, Xu Chen would go down the mountain to visit Shariana and conveniently teach him martial arts. On that particular day, just as he was about to descend to visit him, he reached the cliff of self-sacrifice when suddenly Yan came running with a letter in hand. Xu Chen opened it to read. It turned out to be written by the schoolteacher Ma Xiao, saying that 3 days ago a monk had arrived minus his appearance extremely fierce and sinister. On his back he carried an iron wooden fish weighing 3 to 400 jin. He came to the village city malls, saying he was a monk from Mount Wu Taiming Niao Tong, traveling the world solely to seek her friend Certain Xu. The villagers, because though he looked fierce, he begged randomly for alms without any improper behavior. Let him be. Because there was no uncertainty in the village. Yesterday he was about to leave when suddenly a list stunned villager mentioned Mr. Zhu. The monk then asked about the teacher's full name and appearance. After hearing, he said it was the end. Never thought that in this life I'd still have a day to meet Zhu Lao San. The serene crate of the clouds, as he scrubbed. His face looked extremely ugly, just as he was asking where the teacher was now. Later and I happened to walk out. Then a very strong person said that to inquire about the teacher's whereabouts. One must ask me. That note then changed the course to me. Seeing his intentions were not good, I told him Mr. Shu's guard Chen do to cheat at the teaching position, and didn't tell him he was lording at Mount Annie. He's no longer in the village today minus. He must have gone to Chindili Sikiro. I thought that this monk's intentions were certainly not good. So I'm sending this letter to you to prepare early. Seeing this letter, Shu-chan was greatly alarmed and said to Yener, follow me up the mountain and Motaknur. Speaking hastily, he took Yener and leapt up the dangerous cliff, arriving at the cave. After Yener paid respects to Lin Yin and his daughter, he said to Shu-chan that his teacher Ma said the monk had bad intentions. That night I went to the inn where the monk was staying to investigate what kind of person he really was. At the third watch, he crawled onto his roof and using the pearl curtain rolling sticks, looked into the room. I saw this monk sitting in meditation. After sitting for a while, he arose and took out from the iron wooden fish to dry up human ingot bones. He looked at them again and again, then extended his right hand to do the other. His right hand had only 3 fingers left minus the ring finger and middle finger appeared to have been cut off by a blade. Then I saw him take out a small package and remain right extractically to urine. The features were sculpted to look exactly like Chichu minus, also in white robes with a sword. Except on the back there seemed to be something like wings. I saw the monk mash his teeth fiercely upon seeing the teachers in it, as if extremely hateful. To coincidence that the clay figure and cursed continuously. I couldn't help but become greatly enraged. I was about to enter the room to demand what grievance he had with teacher, that he would curse people behind their bouts minus if he couldn't give a good reason. I didn't have to death. But just as I was about to descend into the room, it seemed so unpinched about him I couldn't lay disarmed. Suddenly, I felt my body rise into the air, and in a moment, I was on level ground. Looking around, I was already near the temple of the 3 officials minus. It gave me quite a fright. I had originally come out without telling my mother, and I said she might rake him look for me. I planned to first go home to check before doing anything else. When I got home, my mother had no weekend. I saw her note on the table. The characters were written extremely well in Yener. Such great boldness. Going out behind your mother's doctor is danger. Tomorrow morning, hurry up to Mount Genny to deliver a message to your teacher. Don't delay. Seeing this note, I fought carefully minus with my old weather at home. There shouldn't be taking risks. From the town of this no traitor. That monk must certainly have great martial prowess, and I'm absolutely no match for him. When I was suddenly lifted into the air from that roof, it must also let then this person's daily. I thought about it all night, and next day I told my mother, and she told me to hurry and deliver the message to Chair. These few days were the monthly examination, and I was worried Teacher Ma wouldn't let me come. That, when I arrived at the schoolroom before I could even speak, Teacher Mark called me aside when no one else was commanded me to deliver the message to Teacher. He even gave me a cookie out of silver for travel expenses, so I set off immediately. It only worked about 10 weeks when I saw the people I had arguing. I would carefully minus one was got very numbed, and the other was a Taoist. It gave me quite a fright. Fortunately, we were for a cotton they didn't notice me. So I left the main road, crossed over the mountain slope, and took the mountain pass that did ahead of them. Does teacher know the background of this monk? To know how your turn will answer, see the next chapter for details. That Taoist still didn't wake. He could only go with Yener to a nearby eating house and hastily consume some food and wine, then hurry on their way. When they reached a place with no people, Pastor and disciple deployed their land flying pace, heading toward Crow's Beak. In less than 2 hours, they were already not far from the village. Shu-chan knew that Yener's mother was very virtuous minus. This visit would surely result in special hospitality from her, which would trouble her and make him feel uneasy. Moreover, it was already getting late. He intended to eat dinner before going, so he and Yener walked into a wine and food shop to have their evening meal. This wine and food shop was called the Knowing Taste Tower. It had opened not long ago and the cooking was quite skillful minus there were many customers drinking there. Master and disciple, their hearts hastening home like arrows, didn't pay attention to others and were led by the waiter to an elegant seat. Yener suddenly saw something that looked very familiar and couldn't help but be greatly startled. He hurriedly called Shu-chan to come look. To know what happens next, See the next chapter for details.